you resources and what you need to know. For up-to-the-minute info on distribution hubs, help, and volunteer opportunities in the Altadena area, please visit Neighborhood Servants or Pasadena Community Coalition on Instagram. The Wild Seed Collective is offering free grant workshops to businesses impacted by the LA wildfires. Find them at wildseedcollective.com. Fuller Psychological and Family Services is offering 12 free therapy sessions to people impacted by the fires who are unable to access care. Contact Executive Director Dr. Ted Koss at tedkoss@fuller.edu. Grief and Hope, the LA Art World Mutual Aid Relief administered by The Brick, is offering help to artists impacted by the blazes. Info is available at the/brick.org. On Instagram, Mutual Aid LAN is updating a Google Sheet in real time with locations, verified GoFundMe sites, and current resources. If you haven't done so yet, it's still a good idea to sign up for Notify LA on your phone for fire alerts and updates. Praying, advocating, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the power's even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the business is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds for deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, our best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson?
We're gonna get it right. We're gonna get it right. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, your host and chief White House correspondent. Listen, I'm in touch, so you please be in touch. Subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. In addition, make sure you download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. But while we're talking about the KBLA app, I want to make sure that you're utilizing the app as we have launched a new campaign that we are where we're enlisting you. We're enlisting you for your help to spread the word. We want to collect as many stories and amplify as many stories as possible. We're calling it Fired But Not Forgotten, the Testimony Project. It's all about bearing witness, breaking silence, and building community. And what we are intending to do is amplify the voices of Black federal workers impacted by the mass firings, rooted in the Black tradition of testimony. Can I get an amen? This initiative ensures that those who served are not erased from our history. We're doing this through firsthand accounts, through investigative storytelling and community-driven dialogue. That way, we hope to expose the injustice and preserve truth and demand accountability. So, if you or someone you know has been forced out of federal employment due to mass firings, please contact us at info@smileyAudiomedia.com. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com. Or via the open mic feature on the KBLA 1580 app. We want to hear from you and share your story. Remember, at KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black. Now, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Now, listen, I do enjoy a sausage egg McMuffin. I do. I think it is one of the best breakfasts on the go when you are running through an airport trying to make your flight. And so I was delighted to learn that, according to NBC News, McDonald's is bucking the trend, and they're vowing no egg surcharges as they prep for $1 Egg McMuffin Day. Oh, my heart be still. McDonald's is leaning into its reputation as a breakfast value offering, and they're vowing to reject a surcharge on meals with eggs while announcing a special one-day discount on Egg McMuffins. The fast food giant said in a release that that to mark the 50th anniversary of its breakfast menu cornerstone, customers on Sunday should be able to purchase an Egg McMuffin sandwich as well as a sausage McMuffin with egg sandwich, #winning, through the McDonald's app for just $1. Coinciding with the release, a McDonald's executive emphasized this in a LinkedIn post that the chain had no intention to charge customers extra for meals featuring eggs amid this nationwide shortage that sent prices soaring and prompted at least 2 other national chains to do so. And so, look, McDonald's has been in the news for a lot of things in recent weeks, including their position on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But this is probably one of the least controversial headlines that McDonald's has had in a while. And so if you're hungry, lean into it. On Sunday, you can get your favorite Egg McMuffin sandwich or sausage McMuffin with egg sandwich, my fave, for only $1. You can just use the McDonald's app, or I assume you can also go into a McDonald's store. So a little bit of good news on that front, but not so good news for folks in the National Park Service as layoffs and hiring delays continue to impact visitors. NPR is reporting that national parks across the U.S. are bearing down on an uncertain season as federal layoffs and staffing shortages threaten many of the services they provide for their millions of annual visitors, from reservations to cleanup to education. The National Park Service laid off some 1,000 employees on February 14th, just weeks before the start of the busy season in many of the country's 63 national parks. And let me just add, here we are reporting on 1,000 employees of the National Park Service who were laid off. But I don't just think about those folks as individuals. I think about those as families that are impacted. I think about it as neighborhoods that are impacted, communities that are impacted. There's a whole long line of folks who are impacted with every single job layoff. And so let's not lose sight of that. The layoffs, which targeted probationary workers as a part of a broader effort by President Trump and advisor Elon Musk to downsize the federal workforce. National Park Service officials have testified that the agency was already understaffed. The number of full-time employees dropped by about 15% between 2011 and 2022, forcing some visitor facilities to close or limit their hours. And so if you are a part of the National Park Service, if you're a federal worker, or if you know a federal worker that's part of the National Park Service, we want to hear from you. Email us at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or send us your story using the open mic feature on the KBLA 1580 app. We really want to amplify these stories. They are critically important. And finally, speaking of federal agencies, NBC News reporting that that federal agencies have been told to start planning for a large-scale layoff in Trump administration memo. So aside from the 1,000 folks and the National Park Service that were laid off on February 14th, they're not stopping there. In fact, they may just be getting started. The Trump administration directed federal agencies today to prepare for mass layoffs, according to the heads of the White House Budget and Personnel Management Offices. Budget Director Russell Vought, who was also one of the architects of Project 2025, just saying, as well as Charles Ezel, the acting director of the Office of Personnel Management, they wrote in a memo to the heads of these agencies that the federal government is costly, inefficient, and deeply in debt. They went on to say that at the same time, it's not producing results for the American public. Instead, tax dollars are being siphoned off to fund unproductive and unnecessary programs that benefit radical interest groups while hurting hardworking American citizens. Well, what's hurting hardworking American citizens is laying them off. What's hurting hardworking American citizens is this chaos that they are unleashing, not just here in Washington, D.C., where I'm broadcasting live today, but across the country. You know, federal workers aren't just in Washington, D.C. In fact, about 6% of federal workers are in Washington, D.C., 20% in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area, but the majority of federal workers aren't even here in D.C., aren't even in the DMV area. In fact, in California, where our home station is located, about 150,000 federal workers are in California alone. And a substantial number are in places like Texas, places like Florida, red states, so-called red states. And so this memo specifically calls for the removal of underperforming employees or employees engaged in misconduct. The heads of departments and agencies will have to submit plans for a second phase workforce reduction by mid-April. The second part of the plan should include any proposed relocations of agency bureaus and offices from Washington, D.C. and the National Capital Region to less costly parts of the country. So not only are they laying people off, but they are trying to relocate these agencies to some other part of the country. Is this what you voted for? Is this what you were expecting? Knowing this, is this going to make it easier to visit with your family around Easter? Maybe later this year, Thanksgiving, Christmas? You know, everybody says they want efficiency. Who doesn't want efficiency? We want efficiency in our appliances. We want efficiencies in our households, right? You know, if Google or whoever comes out with a product to make our Gmail or whatever internet service we use more efficient, who doesn't like efficiency, right? But efficiency comes with a price. And the price may be too much to bear. We're only 1 week into the new administration. Don't hold your breath. When we come forward, I'm delighted to welcome to the show James Farr, my newest colleague here at KBLA Talk 1580. Coming up, starting March 8th, you'll be able to tune into him every Saturday for Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. We're going to tell you all about his new show, and we're also going to dig into some of the day's biggest headlines. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Who cares about the Black community in Altadena? We do. On Saturday, March 8th at 10 a.m., it's the premiere of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This new weekly show will explore the deep roots and resilience of Altadena's Black community as we track its recovery and reimagine its future. From relief efforts to rebuilding, we're raising up voices, stories, and solutions to build back Black Altadena better and stronger than ever. It's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr every Saturday at 10 a.m. beginning Saturday, March 8th with an encore presentation Sundays at noon.
James Farr, the man who is the voice for Black Los Angeles.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or apply stop to opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
If you've struggled to lose weight in the past, this important message is for you because you could lose as much as 50 pounds or more with Zelfie. Zelfie makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelfie providers can prescribe FDA-approved GLP-1 weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others. Plus, help get the medication covered by insurance so it's as little as $0 a month.
The doctors are super helpful, and the meds have been a game changer. It's the first program I've had success with.
Before Zelfie, I was unable to lose weight, even though I was eating healthy and exercising 6 days a week. Zelfie helped me not only lose weight, but I feel so much better.
Text GOAL to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text GOAL to 200-300. That's GOAL to 200-300. GOAL to 200-300.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and before we get to our guest for the remainder of the hour, I want to make sure that folks are aware of several deadlines that are coming up to get wildfire disaster relief assistance. These deadlines are coming up real quick. March 2nd, that's the deadline to apply for the Los Angeles Region Small Business Relief. March 10th, deadline to apply for FEMA individual assistance. Also on March 10th, the deadline to apply for SBA business loan. And March 31st, day before my birthday, be sure to complete a right of entry form. You can go to lacity.gov for more information, but Mayor Bass and her administration have been working around the clock to make sure that the people of LA and certainly the surrounding areas are aware of these fast approaching headlines. And speaking of areas around Los Angeles, I'm really delighted to welcome James Farr to the show. James Farr, my friend, is the newest addition officially. He's been a part of the KBLA Talk 1580 family as a contributor. You might have heard him on First Things First with Dominique DePrima. You might have heard him on the Black Lives Matter program with Dr. Melina Abdullah. And you certainly have heard him here before on A More Perfect Union. And so we are just delighted to welcome James even deeper into the KBLA family as the new host of Conversations Live. It's Altadena Rising with James Farr right here on KBLA Talk 1580 on Saturdays. This is going to be the place to come to get the latest information. And also, it's a part of our commitment to continue to amplify the voices of the people of Altadena. All these benefit concerts and all the fundraising, that's all wonderful, right? But we got to make sure that we're elevating the voices of the people, right? And that the voices of the people don't get drowned out from well-intentioned folks, right? But we got to make sure that we elevate the voices of the people, because it's the people that are going to help to keep us honest and keep us focused and remind us what resources are actually getting to them and what isn't, so that we can provide them with as much support as possible. James, welcome to the show.
Dr. Nee, thank you so much for having me, man. I am excited to be here with you on this afternoon, man. This is really cool being a part of the KBLA Talk 1580 delegation.
Yeah. So tell us, like, what does it feel like to be joining KBLA Talk 1580 as a new host? But more specifically, you're not just a host, but you are curating an experience every week that is charged with continuing to center the people of Altadena. How does that feel?
Well, to answer your first question, I mean, it's a bit overwhelming, right? This kind of was a quick onboarding, and certainly I believe that our chief visionary officer, Tavis Smiley, who, as far as I'm concerned, is my generation's GOAT in this media space, and so he knows better than I what he sees in me, but the feeling is exuberating. I normally could just be invisible, but when I ran into you the other evening at the Image Awards, it was filled with congratulations from several friends and colleagues who had um, seen the announcement made by Tavis and the station. So I'm excited. But to your point about curating these conversations, Dr. Nee, there's a little bit of art in there. There's a little bit of, methodology in there. But really, it takes me to a space that I refer to as trauma journalism. Because really what I'm doing and unpacking with these folks who are impacted by this fire is excuse me, willingly putting myself in a place where I have to experience with them each and every time exactly just how horrific, how destructive. But then there are those moments of joy where folks are smiling, and the people in this community, Altadena, Pasadena, are some of the most resilient folks you will ever meet. So this show is going to be the show of record, and we're going to make sure that we are evidence fact-based. We're not going to peddle in disinformation. We want to be a place where folks can come find out what's really happening.
That's terrific. That's terrific. I'm so excited to not just welcome you officially to the KBLA family in this way, but at a time where there is so much mis and disinformation out there, and we're already seeing folks with political ambitions politicize this this disaster, quite frankly.
Yeah.
We're seeing people politicize it, and so to have a show of record right here on the People Station, I think you're going to be able to do a lot of good. Talk to us about the people of Altadena. It has been now a few weeks since the fires have been extinguished. There have been a number of legal clinics and mental health clinics and town hall meetings. There's been a lot of activity. What are you hearing from the people of Altadena? Where are they on their healing journey?
Well, I think first of all, the resilience and when you look at the roots and kind of how Altadena was formed, right? Because of the historic red lines that go back many decades ago, right? The fact that folks and our people have been in this city and town since well after the Civil War, so it dates back well over 100 years of and these are some of the stories that we're going to bring the American people, the delegation, up to speed with just how special it is. But it's a Black enclave, right? 80% of the African Americans that lived in this city or this town, this unincorporated area in Los Angeles County, they were homeowners. So you're looking at multiple generations of Black folks who have essentially been burnt out of a community. And then there are many individual circumstances and situations that are going to affect the individual and kind of whether they're able to sustain, rebuild, recover. Right now, the spirit of the community is all about recovery. The reality of where we are right now, Dr. Nee, is in relief. Folks need to be housed. Folks need to be find some resources. the county and the government don't even have an accurate count of exactly how many people have been dismissed. But I've read a survey that aggregated numbers out, and it's well into the 20,000 that have been displaced. Some of them permanently, others will be a little bit shorter term rather, and able to return to their home. But the vast majority of them in this community will look different going forward.
I mean, those are devastating numbers. I mean, think about if we were looking at a humanitarian situation overseas, if we learned that 20,000 people had been displaced by a natural disaster or man-made disaster. I think the jury is still out in terms of how much of this wildfire was a natural disaster versus how much of it was related to human error or the error of energy equipment. And so, I'm not going to be judge and jury on that, as there's a investigation that is afoot that is looking into that. And that's, again, why I think your show is so timely. It's so important that there's so many pieces to this puzzle, right? It's not just about making sure that we're providing relief to the people who need it, right? But it's also helping us to understand more clearly what happened. So in the case of the next incident, whether it's in, greater LA, in California, in some other part of the country, some other part of the world, that there is some record of learnings from this, so that the next time anything close to this happens, we are able to support people more quickly and get resources to where they're needed more quickly. And so when we come forward, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And I can't have James Farr on the show and not take a crack at some of the trending headlines. And so we're going to dig into some headlines when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union, and our special guest for the remainder of the hour is James Farr, the host of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. It premieres on Saturday at what time, James?
10 a.m. Pacific Standard.
10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can also listen to him live on the KBLA app at that time. You can tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580 at that time. We've got you covered. More when we come forward with James Farr.
Enlightened and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice. You tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams abruptly withdrew from a key candidates forum, citing legal advice. Polling at 10%, he was set to face top Democratic challenger, sparking speculation about his re-election plans. Wall Street is closing mixed amid concerns surrounding President Trump's trade policy. Trump said during his first cabinet meeting that tariffs against both Canada and Mexico will take effect, while also adding he will soon expand to include a 25% tariff on goods from the European Union. Luigi Mangione, who was jailed for killing United Healthcare CEO, is asking fans to stop sending photos, saying he cannot keep up with the mail. And former Isley Brothers member Chris Jasper has died at 73. He joined the group in 1973, helping launch their top charting albums. After their 1984 split, he formed Isley Jasper Isley. His family confirmed he passed Sunday after a cancer diagnosis in December. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Sun Valley slowing 5 northbound from Sheldon as you continue in stretches to the 14. On the 14 northbound, an earlier crash just past Sand Canyon looks like they've put it out of lanes, but the drive is still tough off of the 5. And we're also seeing some pretty heavy traffic along Sand Canyon as a result, northbound from Soltis Street as you continue all the way to the 14 freeway. Let's also check out the drive in Orange County. We're looking at the 405 in Irvine, northbound slowing from the 133 freeway all the way to Westminster Boulevard.
If you or someone you know is affected by the Los Angeles wildfires, you are not alone. No matter how sad, scared, or heartbroken you feel, Cal Hope is here for you and all those affected by the devastating wildfires. Find free, safe, and confidential mental health support at calhope.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
All of a sudden, the Lakers are only 2 games behind Memphis for the number 2 spot in the Western Conference. The Lakers are 4th in the West, which assures them of a first-round bye in the playoffs. But the way the Lakers are playing lately, they have a legitimate chance to improve their playoff seeding. The Lakers, 8-2 in their last 10 games, play their next 5 games at home. This late-season surge is a direct result of the Luka Doncic trade and LeBron's impressive play after his 40th birthday. Since turning 40 on December 30th, LeBron is averaging 26.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, 8.4 assists, and shooting 51%. LeBron's 39% shooting on three-pointers is tops among all NBA starters. As for Doncic, the Lakers are 7-2 since his arrival earlier this month. The Lakers have 26 games left in the regular season. If the Lakers can stay healthy, they could be a strong contender for the Western Conference title in the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you, neighbor to neighbor, bringing you resources and what you need to know. For information on fire recovery resources, recovery hubs, and available services, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 countywide. Aid distribution locations, repopulation updates, and safety rules are constantly changing. Visit the LA City and LA County websites for the latest. If you'd like to sign up for the county's free debris removal, fill out a right of entry form, or get a list of disaster recovery centers that are still active, please visit recovery.lacounty.gov or call the debris hotline at 844-347-3332. If you're vulnerable to mudslides with rain in the forecast, free sandbags are being offered. Go to lacounty.pw/sandbags to find out where to get them. Businesses who have lost their facilities due to the fires can use a regional online source to get free or discounted locations. Whether you're interested in donating or finding space, you can visit the business-to-business Space Share portal at spaceshare.lacounty.gov. Additional LA County small business support and programs can be found at opportunity.lacounty.gov. Praying, advocating, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and delighted to be in conversation with my friend, my brother, my colleague, James Farr. He is the host of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, right here on KBLA Talk 1580, starting March 8th at what time is it, James?
10 a.m. Pacific time, brother. One on the East Coast and somewhere in the middle.
That's right. That's right. We're keeping the voices of the people of Altadena front and center. This is the official show of record. So make sure that you set your calendar reminders. Go ahead and tell Alexa to remind you to tune in on Saturdays starting March 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, because those are going to be important conversations for the record. Speaking of the record, Apple shareholders are on the record having rejected the ban on diversity programs. So all this talk about corporate America running away from commitments to diversity, equity, and inclusion, the Apple board said, well, wait a minute, not so fast. Shareholders of Apple voted just yesterday against dismantling its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, rebuffing a conservative think tank's recommendation. The vote at the company's annual meeting was highly anticipated, as many major companies have dissolved their diversity programs in the wake of President Trump's executive order forcing federal government agencies to abolish DEI programs. NBC News is reporting that Apple did not acquiesce. Before the vote, Apple shareholders faced a proposal from the National Center for Public Policy Research, which said recent U.S. Supreme Court rulings have raised significant legal concerns about DEI programs, including the uptick in DEI-related lawsuits that led to companies scaling back or dissolving their initiatives. It contended that Apple's DEI platform could make the company vulnerable to litigation from workers. The final tally of the vote was not disclosed. James, what say you about this recent development? I mean, of all companies, did you expect Apple to rebuff a lot of public and I'm sure private pressure to turn away from DEI?
Well, first of all, Dr. Nee, I thought we were talking about the price of eggs. So you confused me when you went with the Apple lead in. But what it is,
eggs, apples.
Eggs, apples, and you egg McMuffins earlier now, or I'm just all confused right now, right? But this runaway train from 1600 Pennsylvania of white domination. We're seeing in some isolated cases where organizations, really it's individuals who are saying, we ain't doing that, right? And so I think the standard should be rejecting or rebuffing this initiative to kind of disallow DEI programs to be in place. But kudos to Apple. I think the shareholders have spoken. And I think we're going to see other examples from organizations and companies who are not going to necessarily fold to the Doge Brigade and everything else that's coming out of DC.
Well, we sure hope so. I mean, look, it gives people just a little bit of hope. And I think right now, I think a lot of people are looking for some semblance of hope. I mean, certainly, with Joy Reid, her show, The Readout, being canceled by MSNBC earlier this week, with folks like our colleague Lester Holt stepping down from being the NBC Nightly News anchor after 10 years of doing that. And just a lot of Black folks of color who have worked hard, some might say twice as hard, to be able to occupy anchor chairs, to have time on air, precious time on air, to amplify stories and to share perspective that's not often there. And so I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts about what has unfolded this week. Now that you've had a chance to sleep on it a few nights, what say you about the changes, not just at MSNBC? I don't want to just pick on MSNBC, but just sort of the trends that we're seeing in news media.
Well, legacy media is performing like I would expect legacy media and institutional corporate media to perform, right? Where they do acquiesce to the wishes of, a current administration and aren't necessarily looking to rock the boat. But then that goes back again to that human portion of it, Dr. Nee. There are people making these decisions, right? And we are fortunate that we have a Black owned media outlet where our voices can show up unapologetically, right? And we're not blacking down. But to see many of those who we enjoy listening to or watching and, no longer on the airways, I'd like to think Lester Holt was constructively terminated and not exactly fired, right? But the lift to get to the anchor chair, right, and hold that seat for well over a decade. He's in many folks' living rooms nightly. And I believe I heard Brother Tavis say, I guess they just don't want to see us Black folks anywhere. But you can come on over here to KBLA Talk 1580, and you're going to see a whole lot of us all the time.
That's right. You're going to see a lot of us, and you're going to see us in community. And I think that's the key. I mean, sometimes you see us in different places, but, we're not always like in community. And, it's a great honor. It's also a great responsibility to step to this mic every day. Our signal, can be heard by millions of people, right? And you never know, what someone will do when they get a piece of information or when they get that clarity. And so, we take this job very seriously, and especially in a time such as this. Now, I can't say the same thing for Dr. Oz. New York Times reporting that they're reporting on Dr. Oz and how his millions may collide with Medicare. You see, the TV celebrity and Trump nominee has pledged to divest from most of his financial interests, but they touch nearly every corner of healthcare, from insurance to blood pressure cuffs and vitamins, leading experts and lawmakers to doubt that he can make impartial decisions. Dr. Oz was, of course, nominated by President Trump to oversee Medicare and Medicaid, and has been a relentless promoter of controversial private insurance plans for older Americans. What Dr. Oz didn't tell the audience was that he made money from touting the plans known as Medicare Advantage, the for-profit company operating the call center, TZ Insurance Solutions. And so, I don't think anybody's really surprised to see conflicts of interest emerge with various picks to Trump's cabinet. But given the threat to Medicaid, I mean, the Republicans just took a vote on Capitol Hill yesterday to move forward in this reconciliation process to pass a budget that would mean severe cuts to Medicaid. Make no mistakes about it. And so between cuts coming from Congress and the conflicts of interest that have been reported by the New York Times when it comes to Dr. Oz, this is seeming as if it is a perfect storm to reimagine Medicare and Medicaid. No.
Well, it certainly is, but you're the crack White House correspondent, right? You spent many a days in Washington, and you have the beat of what's going on. To me, all politics are local. I'm just out here in Altadena, Pasadena area, and in my very simplest understanding, it sounds like self-dealing, right? It seems like many have used this access to President Trump as a means to enrich themselves, right? And not quite being fully transparent about what their dealings have been in the past. I mean, we see them in predatory capitalistic spaces and really just trying to exploit systems. I mean, it's like, how much money is enough, Dr. Oz? You've been a talk show host. You've made millions of dollars, and now you're in other spaces making money, profiting off of what you're promoting. And now you want to gut the very thing that everybody needs or potentially may need. I just don't. Maybe you can make it make sense. You understand them people. I understand crooked politicians here. I don't.
I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot to understand. I may have to go back to graduate school to understand all that's happening here right now. But I will say this just to connect the dots in terms of, well, why should people care? Why should people pay attention to this? Because you know, and I know there's a lot of folks saying, I ain't paying attention to this. I'm not reading the news. I'm not watching the news. You know, I don't want to hear it.
Because if you keep living, Doc, you may need these services, right?
That's right.
That's all. I mean, you don't have to watch it every day, but if you keep living, it may be you.
It may be you, and it's important. That's why it's important for us to keep a line of sight as to what is happening. I'm not saying you got to inundate yourself or overwhelm yourself. By all means, protect your peace, but that's part of the reason why every day we try to bring you a digest of what you may want to know, what you need to know. And what you need to know is that Medicaid can help states and communities respond to disasters and public health emergencies. And so I have no doubt that there are folks who have been impacted by the LA wildfires, for example, that if Medicaid was privatized, if Medicaid didn't have the capacity to show up and provide support through Medicaid disaster relief options, that some people may be, worse off, right? And states like California, I know we have Medi-Cal, which they don't have that in every state across the country, right? But we know that Medicaid makes a major difference in the lives of people who really need it the most. They ain't got no other option, right? And so that's why we should care. That's why we should care.
Like I said, you may need it. It's really that simple.
That's right. That's right. When we come forward, it's time for the quiet part out loud. And we have a story that's going to warm your heart. It's going to warm your heart. It's going to give you hope. And we have another story that might leave you feeling a little inspired. James Farr is going to be our test case. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Fatherhood includes being present during pregnancy and beyond, supporting your partner, advocating for your baby, and ensuring a healthy birth. Black fathers play a key role in reducing maternal and infant health disparities, and your involvement starts during pregnancy. Join the free AIM Fatherhood program today and learn how to support your partner, advocate for your baby's health, and connect with other fathers committed to healthier births. Visit blackinfantsandfamilies.org/fatherhood to get started. February is Black History Month, a time to celebrate the achievements and resilience of Black communities. But it's important to address health disparities in diseases like asthma. In the U.S., Black Americans are approximately 5 times more likely than white Americans to be hospitalized for asthma. But there's hope. Managing your asthma is possible with regular checkups, using prescribed medications correctly, avoiding asthma triggers, and creating an action plan with your healthcare professional. Take control. Your health is your power. To learn more about asthma, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you. Working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai. He is James Farr, the host of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Set your alarm clock for 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on March 8th, Saturday, March 8th. It's going down. That's their premiere episode. This is the show of record. If you care about folks who have been impacted by the LA wildfires, if you care about the community of Altadena and you want to stay dialed in, even when the story may fade from the national headlines, there are still people here in community that need all the support they can get to help rebuild what was a very beautiful community and still is a beautiful community of people. You know, I've been taken aback at just how much folks have been showing up for each other. We had one of my old college friends, Lauren Randolph, whose family was impacted. They lost their beautiful home in Altadena. And she was on our show and she was telling me that of all places, the post office seems to be where things are on and popping. You know, people are going to the post office and that's where a lot of information is being exchanged. People are comparing notes. And so please make sure to listen to James's show. We also know that the churches have played a major role. I'm talking about First AME Church, Pasadena Church, where I saw James, on the ground, collecting people's testimonies. And so speaking of church, did you know that 30 Black churches are going to get a historic $8.5 million grant? You can't make this stuff up. The National Trust for Historic Preservation's African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund just this past Monday announced the recipients of funds from Preserving Black Churches program. The program will present $8.5 million to 30, count them, 30 churches in 19 states, contributing significantly to preserving Black churches throughout the nation. Grants range from $50,000 to $500,000, according to the National Trust. And the money must be used for critical preservation work, which can include hands-on structural renovations, as well as planning for renovations and other care of the structures. And so, recipients include Presbyterian, Baptist, Catholic, AME, Methodist churches, even in the Bay Area. This year's grant will reach 2 churches with longstanding national profiles, including Glide Memorial Church in San Francisco. Hello. Which has been, of course, one of the most left-wing churches for more than 60 years, and Atlanta's West Hunter Street Baptist Church, once pastored by the civil rights hero, Reverend Ralph David Abernathy. And so James, you gotta let us know if any of the churches in Altadena are a part of this list. And if not this list, they should certainly be on the next list, because we need to make sure that we're preserving our cultural heritage in as many places as possible. Finally, James, what do you think about Beyond the Gates? It's a lot of people are saying it's making Black history at a critical time, on screen and off. For people who are less familiar, Black first in the 21st century are, often surprising, but Beyond the Gates is no exception. It's the first daytime soap solely focused on a Black family. It premieres. It just premiered on CBS and comes just as the daytime genre is disappearing. James, what say you about this Black soap opera popping up on CBS at a time where we see Black journalists popping off the air?
Yeah, I certainly didn't see that coming, Dr. Nee, and I would have to say I haven't watched the stories, as my big mama used to call them, since I was a little kid, but because life tends to imitate art for me, and that there's enough theater in the spaces that we occupy. I don't know that I'll be watching. May not necessarily be my genre, but anytime that we can see us on screen and as long as we appropriately, it's a soap, right? So it is what it is. But it's always great to see us working. My daughter is a thespian. She's in a performing arts school, so I celebrate a pathway for her and for her to see herself through the work of those fine actors on that show. But I probably won't be watching.
Well, I know my mom watches not just this show and notes every show, but she also appreciates her stories. And so everybody needs a little bit of escape these days. And that soap opera may be that little bit of escape that we need in order to keep doing the work to build a more perfect union. My thanks to James Farr, the host of Conversations Live, Altadena Rising, right here on KBLA Talk 1580, starting March 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate everything you do. Go forth and prosper. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce a more perfect union. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, Andy, our show producers, Kim and Faraji, and of course, each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.